becomes imprinted on cave walls, a medieval mystic with visions of the mysteries of God, a pioneering portraitist, a Baroque master of light and dark, who even today challenges our assumptions. Until recently, many of these artists were unknown or obscure. But the work of early women artists is finally coming into focus, as are the contributions they've made to the way we see and experience the world today. And they remind us why art remains fundamental to understanding the human experience. Who were they? You're about to find out, because this is The Unexplored. The story begins in Europe at a time before history. Much of the continent was covered in ice, but deep within caves, people were defining what made them, and us, uniquely human, the power to imagine and to represent. In what is now France and Spain, humans began drawing and painting on cave walls 35 to 40,000 years ago. With clay pigments and charcoal, they often created the beasts they hunted and likely feared, in stunning, lifelike detail. The question is, why? Why did the first artists venture into these dark subterranean places to create? Some archaeologists think that the paintings were a form of magic meant to encourage a good hunt. Others posit that the images formed a simulated hunting ground, preparing hunters to take down their prey. Another theory suggests that shamans entered the darkness of the caves to experience sensory deprivation. Once in a trance state, they painted these images as a way to harness the power of animal spirits. The existence of similar shamanistic rituals in hunter-gatherer societies today adds credence to this idea. Handprints like these in France are another common discovery in prehistoric caves. By analyzing the relative shape and size of human hands, compelling scientific evidence suggests that up to 75% of them were made by women. This opens up fascinating and long overdue questions about the important role of women in early societies. Were women the first artists? And what does their work say to us now? Before we answer those questions, let's jump forward into recorded history when we start to get a clearer picture of early European women artists. After the fall of Rome, much of Europe was thrown into disarray. By around the year 1000, though, Catholicism was consolidating its authority. Increasing social stability helped art flourish, especially in service to Christianity. Art historians call this the Romanesque period, an age of colorful and passionate works inspired by classical Roman art. While few women have been officially recognized for their contributions during this period, they were likely active in producing embroidery and illuminated manuscripts. At the time, few women were afforded time and permission to create art, but one astounding exception was Hildegard von Bingen, a German abbess, artist, and intellectual who was born around 1100. With an immense range of talents, including music, writing, medicine, natural history, and more, von Bingen was widely renowned in her time for her visions of God. These visitations, which she referred to as voices of the living light, caught the attention of the Pope and others who encouraged her to recount her experiences in a series of illuminated manuscripts. Von Bingen collaborated with the nuns in her convent to create works such as The Universal Man, which represents her vision of the ideal human form as a microcosm of the universe. The spheres of earth, air, clouds, ether, and fire encircle the body. Interestingly, at the lower left, we see a self-portrait of von Bingen seated in her chair in the act of illustrating her vision. It functions as a kind of artist statement, proclaiming that she has witnessed all that swirls above her. By the 16th century, the Renaissance was in full swing across Europe. This age of breathtaking advancements in visual art, literature, science, finance, politics, and more helped shape the world we live in today. People were turning away from supernatural explanations and the old power structures of the church. The idea of the individual with a capacity for rational thought and reason was on the rise. In 1548, the Flemish painter Catharina van Hemesen made a bold statement of individuality in what most art historians agree is the first self-portrait of an artist seated in front of an easel. Considering the constraints placed on women artists in her time, it's no surprise that this innovation was hers. While women were not allowed to receive a formal education in art, Van Hemesen was trained by her father, Jan Sanders van Hemesen, a renowned painter. To announce herself as a professional artist, Catharina likely represented herself in the act of painting to establish her credibility as an artist, something a woman would have had to do to convince buyers that she was the real deal. Her self-promotion paid off. Renowned for the intimacy, empathy, and realism of her work, Van Hemesen would go on to be a successful portraitist for royalty and wealthy merchants. But to this day, art historians have puzzled over the mysterious nature of her self-portrait. Produced when Catharina was just starting her career at age 20, the ghostly face on the canvas, is it Catharina herself? Creates a hall of mirrors as we peer into both faces and consider the nature of identity. Exactly who is being seen in the portrait? Are we simply viewing her as she creates the likeness of herself? Or is she staring out at us, the viewer, as she creates us? And what of the inscription here at the top? We'll consider the meaning of that in a bit. But first, let's travel to the 17th century, the age of Baroque. Art of this period was known for bold colors, lavish detail, and extremes of light and dark, all combining to create high drama. It was a time of Caravaggio, Rubens, Rembrandt, Velázquez. And have you also heard of Artemisia Gentileschi, an Italian painter who rose above turmoil and trauma to be one of the great masters of her era? Apologies, we have to cut the story short here for YouTube. Fortunately, you can get the full and uncensored story of what happened to Artemisia Gentileschi on our Patreon page at the link in the description below. This made-for-TV revenge story obscures the complex and multifaceted awareness of female presence and power Gentileschi displayed across her lifetime of work. Nearly all of her paintings feature female protagonists who are painted with a masterfully naturalistic eye for the feminine form. And these women consistently represent far more than fury. They impart self-assurance, courage, and empowerment. To really get a sense of this more nuanced picture of Gentileschi's work, let's return to Susanna and the Elders. In it, Susanna turns away in fear. Her pose is defensive. Her body appears to curl in on itself. Compare this with a later version of the painting, which Gentileschi completed near the end of her life, in 1652. Now, Susanna is far less vulnerable and exposed. Her body language is fixed, firm, and she makes eye contact with her assailants. Her steady, powerful gaze meets theirs, forcing their attention away from her body as if to say, "See me, not as an object, but as a human being." And that brings us back to the walls of those dark caves. Archaeologists have theorized that those female handprints were a kind of signature, a prehistoric assertion of selfhood that said, "I was here, I made this." Much of the work we've looked at speaks to us across the centuries, saying, "I was here, I made this, I'm human." And it reveals artists and their subjects with complex, perhaps even contradictory, motives and desires, while reminding us that art both embraces our mortality and asserts that we can live on in permanence. Consider Van Hemesen's Latin inscription on her self-portrait. It reads, "I, Catharina of the Hemesens, painted me in 1548 at the age of 20. I was here," she's saying to us through the gauzy fabric of time. "I made this. See me." Want more of the unexplored? Check out these videos. Please like and subscribe to our channel, and be sure to let us know in the comments what you thought of this video and what you'd like us to explore next.